Well, hi boys and girls, it's great to see you. And we're back with another story about Samuel and David and all the people that lived a long, long time ago. Now, Alfie, can you remember where we finished off last week? You learned about David, that's right. And what did David do? He had a fight. Well done. Do you know, Alfie's getting pretty good at listening and remembering. David had a fight against a great big giant called Goliath. And he beat him, didn't he? With just a stone, that's all. Yeah. Now, let's take the story on from there. You know, all the people, when they saw that David had won the fight, they were so excited. They were all cheering and shouting, and they were really, really pleased because they didn't have to fight the Philistines anymore because they'd all run away. Do you think everybody was happy? Well, no, they weren't. You see, the people started shouting, Saul has killed thousands and David has killed 10,000. No, David hadn't killed 10,000. He'd just beaten one big giant. But it's just their way of them saying, we think David is even better than our king. And King Saul didn't like that. He thought, I'm the king. David's not more important than me. And he started getting really grumpy. He didn't like it at all. Now, I don't know about you, Alfie, but sometimes I get a bit grumpy. You know, well, I'm not that grumpy. I am when I'm hungry, yes, I suppose I am. And boys and girls, there are times when we all get grumpy. And when we're grumpy, sometimes our friends or our family sort of keep away from us because they know that they might get shouted at or something. Well, King Saul started getting grumpy. And you know, when a king gets grumpy, you've got to be very careful, because the king can do things to you, like put you in prison or things. And it's not very nice at all. Well, all the people around the palace, when Saul got grumpy, they were walking around very quietly. They didn't want the king to notice them. When suddenly one day, one of them said, Your Majesty, when you're feeling sad... Who's feeling sad, said the king. Well, sometimes you do seem a bit sad, Your Majesty. Would it be nice to have somebody to come in and to sing to you, help you relax? A bit of music. It's good. You like music when you're unhappy? Yeah, it's good, isn't it? It's nice to listen to a nice piece of music. Well, yes, said the king, that would be rather nice. Well, said the man, I know of somebody who can play the harp beautifully and who can sing lovely songs. If he comes in and sings to you, perhaps it'll help you relax and feel better. Yes, said the king, do that. So that's what they did. Do you think it's going to work? Well, we'll see. Because the man that this man in the court knew was David. Yes, the one that King Saul was jealous of is the very one that this man knew, and he thought he could help the king. But he invited David into the palace, and David would sit on a chair near to King Saul. Now, Saul had only seen him once before, and that was when he was going out to meet the giant, and Saul hadn't really had a good look at him. And David, not only was he very brave, but he was a great singer. He wrote his own songs. And they were all songs that said how great and how good God was. And David started singing and playing the harp. And Saul would listen and he'd go, ah. And he'd relax and he'd feel good. And he used to look forward to David coming in to sing to him. Until one day he looked at this young man and he thought, I wonder who this young man is. I'm sure I've seen him before somewhere. And he looked. And suddenly he remembered. He remembered when he was in his tent on the battlefield, when a young man was brought into him who said he could fight a giant. And Saul's eyes went wide in surprise. And he said, This is David from Bethlehem. This is the one that everybody is singing about. This is the one that people think is better than me. This is the one who could take my throne away from me and become king. And Saul, instead of being relaxed and happy, started to feel angry and jealous and very, very mad. What do you think David's going to do? Get out of there, but he doesn't know that Saul has recognized him. And David carried on playing. And Saul put his hand down by the side of his throne, and there was a spear on the ground. And very slowly picked it up. And looking at David, he threw it straight at him. Whoa. Is this the end of David? Well, David was very quick. And as the spear was thrown, he dodged. And the spear went thunk into the wall behind him. What's David going to do now? Well, what would you do? Grab the spear and defend yourself? I suppose so. Saul's just tried to kill him. Well, David, do you know what he did? He got up and he ran as fast as he could. But Saul was furious. He'd found out that David was right in his presence, and Saul made up his mind from that moment on that he was going to get David. Do you know what happens next? Tell you. Has it got a happy ending? Well, you're going to have to wait till next week and find out. Because next week we'll find out what happens between David and Saul. But for now, that's the end of our story. You can't wait till next week. You have to. Oh dear. I think he's got into a bit of a mood. But next week we'll find out what happens to David. No, I'm not going to tell you. You'll have to wait like the boys and girls. Bye for now. No, I'm not going to tell you.